This time the Quick Speed Shop, I'm back from Hershey and I got some new parts for the Model A Hot Rod Shop Truck. But this grill shell is awesome. It's got a couple of pinholes down here, but the grill bars are super straight. It's going to hang out just like this. The radiator will be back in there, and I'll probably put the license plate hanging off the cross member back behind the grill. I also picked up a, where is it? Right here. A dropped headlight bar to get the headlights down some, but it is wider. But it looks like somebody added a piece to the center of this. There's a, looks like welds here, and this doesn't feel very heavy, so I don't know if this is cast brass or it's not magnetic. I was hoping that I could just cut it, but I might have to take a section out and maybe sleeve it and do a couple of set screws on the back side or something, but or not use it at all. But I got this chrome drop headlight bar to get the headlights down a little bit, so we're going to use that. Bam! I love the look of this. This thing looks awesome. I love when one of these cars or trucks is channeled and they leave the full-length grill hanging way down below in front of the axle. It's totally like East Coast style channeled heavy channel action here. So next thing you're going to do, we're going to blow this apart. We'll get the radiator out and we'll start building the mounts. Get the radiator mounted here to the frame. Then we can mock up all the grill action, and you're going to need to do some work. This is just trimmed out sheet metal. I'm going to add detail around where it sits around the cross member, but it really tied the front of the truck together. It looks awesome. So let's get that radiator out. Okay, this is the hood for the truck. This is a 2829 stock hood. How did I get a dent in it here? Son of a gun. When I built this truck, cab space is at a premium, so I didn't notch the firewall. 2829 Model A and all the Model A's, a small block Chevy won't fit under the hood behind the stock radiator location. You need to notch the firewall. But I didn't want to do that because this truck's channeled and chopped and there would be no foot room. It's super tight as it is. So I extended the front cross member out, I think about 3 inches, and dumped the radiator down behind the cross member. So I had to lengthen the hood when I did that, and I simply took another hood and I added 3 inches to the rear of the stock hood here. You can see this line here. What we need to do now is, now I got this new radiator shell on here. I also have these side panels, which you can see here. They got Zeus fasteners. They go and they hold the hood down, and this is now about 1 inch short because this new grill shell is kicked out a little bit, and about 2.5 inches at the bottom of the grill shell down here. So I'm going to have to extend all this stuff to make it tie in, but the first thing we got to do is get the radiator mounted. It was way cheaper than buying an actual hot rod radiator. So let's get that out. We're going to make mounts for that. There's plenty of room inside this big truck grill shell to hide it in here. And I'll get the radiator fabbed up, and then we can hang all the sheet metal up off it once we get the radiator mounted. Alright, here's the radiator I'm using. I put this radiator in, well, careful. When I built the truck originally, it's a 79 Ford F-150 6-cylinder radiator, and it has the outlets laid out which match up to a small block Chevy, a driver's side top hose and a passenger side lower hose. Must have dinged it up here somehow, but this is the radiator that I ran in this truck since I built it. For 20,000 miles, it cools the 283 Chevy just fine. It's I think it's a 2-row radiator. It's for the 306 in that Ford truck. It's 2-row, but I've never had a problem with the 283. It runs super cool. And there was a ton of sheet metal out here because it mounts into the radiator support of the Ford. I think it came way out into here. I trimmed a lot of that down, and I had it solid mounted to the frame, the original frame, with a piece of flat stock up here. But I've got to make some new mounts to slide this down behind the new cross member here on the truck, and it'll all fit behind the grill shell. We'll use this other one as a display. Bam, it goes right in there, no problem. The 79 Ford radiator will fit any Model A or 32 to 34 grill shell, truck grill shell, and 32 car grill shell will fit inside here. It's a real cheap alternative to buying like like a Walker radiator for like $700, or now they got cheap aluminum knockoff ones from China on eBay, super cheap. But when I built this truck in 2006, a lot of that wasn't available, so this was the cheapest option. I think it was like $150 then for the radiator. So I'm sticking with the brass, I'm sticking with what works. Uh-oh, now I'm just totally carried away. I was started to make the mounts for the radiator, and I got into hanging sheet metal on this thing. When I bought this radiator, I also bought a whole set of Fenders, splash aprons, and running boards for 2829 Model A, because I'm doing this thing channeled, full fendered, just like a 50s hot rod custom. So check this out. I got my drop headlight bar laid on here. I've got the 2829 fenders set on the frame where they're going to be. I can already tell that I can't run tall tires on the front of this. This has got a 616 bias ply tires on it just to roll it around, but the thing is so low with the flattened cross member and drop axle, the tires are actually just about touching the fenders right now, so I can't run a tire anywhere near this tall on the front. I'm going to have to run a short tire, but that's also going to take away some ground clearance with the grill. I mean, things are already 5 inches off the ground now. It's pretty low. Pretty low. But check this out. Bam! It's going to be awesome. You rarely see full fendered cars channeled anymore. It's a lot of work, especially in the splash apron area. But I got some tricks I'm going to use. I'm going to take advantage of where my exhaust system comes through to help me with the transition of the splash pan. But I think it's going to be awesome. This is the look I'm going with. I'll show you the rear, and then we're going to get back on building the radiator mounts. It's going to make the truck look super long and low. Being right to the ground here, I'm about a 1 gallon paint can off the ground was where the fenders and the running boards are going to lay out on this thing. I'm going to have to take 4 inches out of the splash aprons under here to fill in the gap. Like I said, I'm using my exhaust, where the exhaust comes under the door, to make my transition piece from the high frame to the low area. I think I can blend it with the hole and just do all my transitioning right there. I've got this gap back here because the frame is longer in the front, because I said earlier I kicked the frame out. So I've got actually 3 running boards, so I'm going to have to lengthen the running boards and the splash aprons to fill up the gap on the back of the cab, which you probably can't see in the frame right now. And I couldn't afford rear fenders for these trucks. They're bringing all the money and then some at Hershey. They wanted like $400 to $600 a pair, and I'm not going to spend that much money on banged up Model A fenders. So I have a set of $10 sedan fenders that I bought from a guy that are wrinkly, and they're missing a big hole in here because they're meant to fit a sedan. But since I got to pick them up anyways with a kick up to clear the tire, I'm going to build a new inner structure to fill up the gap. And then they come down, they tie in back to the correct width on the back. This one's super wonky. It's got a lot of damage in here. I'm also going to bob about probably 8 inches out of the back of the fender and bring the tail of the fender up closer to here, so I can cut most of the damage out of this. And then the part that's missing, I'll custom fabricate in there with new metal. So the outside's pretty decent. So this is the look. Bam! So the fenders are going to be a ways off here. I'll get the radiator all mounted up, get the hood all mocked up, get the exhaust system, back on, and then I got to bolt the cab down, hook up the steering, do some other miscellaneous nonsense, and then we can start working on the fender installation. We'll probably get the whole front fenders and the running boards all mocked up on this thing, and then it'll take a while to do the rear fenders. But in the meantime, let's get back to the radiator. Alright, here's what I'm coming up with for the radiator mount. I've bent up some 1.5 inch wide 1/8 inch flat stock, and it sits right on the cross member where the original radiator was set up on top of it here. And the sheet metal that's on the radiator, I've got 2 bolts on the back side. I'm just going to through bolt 2 bolts here, and then I'm bending up a piece of round rod that's going to weld across here to stiffen this up. So I think that'll be plenty to hold this radiator on. And then eventually I'll make a piece and I'll have the rods go back to the firewall up here on the firewall mount. But let me mark this with my marker. I'll drill this out, and we can bolt the radiator right down, and then put the shell back on and make some sheet metal tabs to hold the grill shell on. Little marker action. Marker, marker, marker. Bam, check it out. Got these made. They simply bolt to the cross member right here, and then I got the 2 bolts to go to the radiator. They sit on a little rubber pad, and there'll be a bolt with a nut and a spring in here to allow a little movement, kind of like factory. But I've got them kicked out. They're sided here, so I'll go ahead and I'll get these painted up, and then mount them back onto the truck here, and then we'll get that grill fitted up. All right, these look good. The radiator's mounted up nice and firm. It's on a little bit of rubber here, which is just some old radiator hose I cut down, made some rubber pads, but it is mounted up nice and tight. I'll get these back off here. I forgot I was filming. I forgot I couldn't paint these all now because it's late at night and I got to get this filming done. So they're just in primer for now, but they're mounted up here to the steel on the radiator, so this is going to be nice and awesome. So let me get the grill shell. We'll slide that back on and see what it looks like. Man, it looks good. Actually, you can't even see these inside the grill, and they're painted black. They'll be invisible, so I guess it wasn't super critical to make it kind of fancy, but that's how it's got to be. So what I got to do next is the radiator on the back here. There's a little flange right here and here where the factory they hook to the factory style radiator. So I think what I'm going to do is just make, there's some 1/2 inch wide here, and there's actually some holes in this. I think I'm just going to make a sheet metal tab that bolts onto the screw and comes around here and just goes to like a pan head screw over here, and do one on the top and the bottom and lock this in. But I've got to get my hood dimension, which is 31.5 inches. I got to get that dialed in. I got to clamp this in place. I got to trim this notch down here to clear where it's going to sit so it doesn't squeak on the frame. But I'll make little sheet metal tabs and I'll lock this grill shell on here. But I don't think I'm going to have time to do that right now because it's almost 11 o'clock at night. But I'm happy that the radiator's mounted. You can see the hose up here. Can you see it? Yeah. The upper hose there. And then the lower hose is over a little bit, but it's going to go right on. I got plenty of fan clearance here. And I can still got room to get the cap off. I can get my fingers on there, get the cap off, and I can fill through the hole. I'm going to get stock trim and a faux cap up here. I'll be able to fill this up. And I might also come off this back piece here and take the Model A stainless steel hood rods I got here, which are too short because this is raked out, but make some kind of little sheet metal bracket with a mount here, bend these out around the carburetor, and do the adjuster rods to help pull the top of it so the radiator doesn't vibrate. But it's mounted in there nice. It might be good enough just to keep it mounted and not even need those rods. So I'm going to think about that, make my tabs, get the radiator all mounted up, get the grill shell mounted up to the radiator, and then paint the brackets, and I'll be able to permanently install the radiator, and then get the grill shell on and make my pieces here, and this will be all done. So that's it for now. I got the radiator mounted up. I'm just going to have to paint the brackets. I'll take the grill shell back off. I'm going to do some tinkering here and make little sheet metal tabs to hold the radiator shell to the radiator, or the grill shell to the radiator I should say, and then they'll pretty much button it up. I can get the radiator permanently mounted, put the hoses back on, and that'll be set. And then I can continue on. I've got some mechanical stuff to do next, steering linkage, brakes for the front, drop the front steering arms, get the tie rods made, get the right wheels on the front of this, and then we can start putting it back together and hopefully make some vroom vroom noises sometime here in the near future. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. I'm putting out new videos every Wednesday and Saturday. Hit the bell for alerts, tell your friends, and as always, we'll see you right back here at the Quick Speed Shop for more Model A hot rod shop truck action.